Volkswagen admits up to 11 million cars could be recalled as part of the emissions scandal. Shares in the world's biggest car maker plunged almost 20% after it admitted using software that deceived US regulators measuring toxic emissions in some of its diesel cars. Volkswagen set aside 6.5 billion euros to cover the cost of what looks like damage limitation. But how far does this damage go? Let's get some analysis and bring in Julia Poliscanova, Clean Vehicles and Air Quality Officer at Transport and Environment. Julie joining us from Brussels. Julie, good evening to you. How much of a betrayal, because that's what it seems to be, how much of a betrayal is this by Volkswagen?
I mean, that's, of course, a bad situation. But what it's really important to stress that we are really just talking about the tip of an iceberg here. This is not just about this particular model of Volkswagen or the case in the US. This is really more widespread behavior by diesel manufacturers where they really underperform and do not deliver the emission reductions on the road. We have plenty of evidence also in Europe, especially in Europe where we have many more diesel vehicles, which shows that 1 in 10 on average diesel vehicles in Europe actually meets the air pollution standards that they have to meet on paper. What is really interesting as well is to see that in the US, this is a very, very small niche market. Only 1% of all cars sold in the US are diesels. In Europe, it's over half of all the cars. And despite this, it's the US testing system that managed to discover that issue and lead that investigation instead of the European authorities taking charge. And the good question, of course, that begs is why? Why not in Europe we are discovering this?
So when you say the tip of an iceberg, are you implying that you think in Europe there may have been a similar kind of manipulation?
Yes, absolutely, and not just by Volkswagen. We have evidence by various NGOs and organizations doing independent testing that on average, every modern diesel car emits 7 times the actual emission limit that they have to emit on paper in real driving. So you have models from, Audi and Opel that are really high up and really have a lot of exceedances, and you have other models that actually meet the limits and apply the right technology. So this problem is widespread. And why in Europe we don't actually have the investigation or we don't have this answer now is because the testing that we have, the system of testing vehicles, is not independent, it's not robust, it's outdated, it's not like in the US. So what we really need in Europe is to actually mirror what's been done in the US and put in place an independent European type approval authority that would oversee that independent testing, that would be funded by a separate charge on vehicles sold instead of the current situation now where car manufacturers pay national testing authorities to perform the testing. Of course, none of this will do an independent investigation. It's a conflict of interest in Europe.
Julia Poliscanova, loud and clear, Clean Vehicles and Air Quality Officer at Transport and Environment. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your views with us here on France 24. We appreciate your time.